Hey, shalom, shalom, shalom. I want to give all praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Wahara Kadash, double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone, peace, many blessings, and salutations to the hopeful elect, the house of David, that by after our die, for whom these epistles are written for in these last days. Shalom to the elect. Excuse me, kind of season changing, so, nose get a little stuffy. You know how it gets, so. We in hell, brothers and sisters, we're in hell, but that's not breaking news to you. We're going to continue to prophesy. We're going to keep fighting until this kingdom is, till the kingdom of the Most High. All right. Yahweh Ba'Shem Al Shai set up on earth. And, we're not going to stop until the Lord says stop. All right. So, I was doing a bit of research, and lately the Lord has put the spirit on me to, kind of go into more of the ancient kingdoms that preceded this kingdom and look at some of the similarities to what made these kingdoms, so unique, and also what similarities they bring or present for the captivity that we're in today, known as America, aka Babylon the Great, Mystery Babylon, the whore that rides the beast. All right. So again, I pray that this is edifying for you. I'm trying not to make it too long. I wanted to bring out a couple scripts, and just kind of tie it all together like a neat little bow. And again, I pray that the edification is more important than anything. What I'm saying? Because it's very, very important that you learn about the history of these different kingdoms and how it ties into our current captivity. Okay. All right. So this is from Pyramid Land Tours. All right. Or pyramidlands.com. And Salakia. It says everything you need to know about women in ancient Egypt. So there's a narrative amongst our people. You know what? Scrap that. There's a narrative amongst the women of today's generation that think that the women of past generations did not, or they were known as second class citizens. And when you go into history, you find out that that's not completely true. And this is one set case, which everybody knows about the Egyptian captivity of the Israelites. But what they don't know is a lot of the customs that come here in America are based out of Egypt. All right. And some, okay, when you when you go into the history and these different customs, a lot of them came from Samaria. OK, Babylon. All right. A lot of them came from Egypt, like fishnet stockings. OK, like condoms. OK, came out of Egypt. Just an array of things. OK, when you really go into it. But anyway, let's get into it. All right. It says when we consider the role of women in ancient societies, the assumption is often that they were treated as second class citizens. However, while ancient Egypt was undoubtedly a patriarchy, there's that word, that's a buzzword. It says that is a society based on principle of men in power. There was also a surprising amount of gender equality. In fact, women were legally, spiritually, and socially regarded in such high standing that that there is much modern societies could learn from the example set by the ancient Egyptians. It says, let's take a look at exactly what life was like for women in ancient. It's like for women in one of the greatest civilizations of all time. It says the pantheon of female goddesses. Now, when you go into the word pantheon, theo meaning God, okay, pan meaning all, so it's all gods. All right, pan, all, theon, or theon. Or Theo, all right, it's talking about gods. So it's talking about multiple gods. And now man, that's how we know that this is the society. Okay, this whole society is set upon a complete just wickedness, man. Okay, so I'm just going to continue. It says the respect which women were treated in ancient Egypt had its basis in religion. For the ancient Egyptians, Salakia. Let me set my what's in there. Forgot to do that. It says, for the ancient Egyptians, balance and equality were intrinsic to their belief system, as were feminine concepts such as fertility and rebirth. It says the Egyptian pantheon included many female deities, each with a different area of expertise. It says these range from the everyday, like brewing beer. That's another thing. That's where beer went back to Egypt. You see these Americans, and you know what I'm saying, they're beer drinkers and they love their beer, but that goes back to Egypt. It says, like brewing beer and watching over pregnancies, to the divine, like protecting humanity from evil. Some of the most important deities were female, including Neith, an early goddess often cited as maid, and Isis, sister, wife, and equal of Osiris, and the deity in charge of shepherding the deceased safely into the afterlife. Both Hathor and Isis were at different points considered the divine mother of the Pharaoh and worshipped extensively with their own special cults. And what does that sound like? Doesn't that sound like the what's that? The Catholic or Catholicism? All right, don't they worship Mary? You know, all this is what Esau's doing is all recycled, man. It's all recycled. You know, this is Ecclesiastes 1:9. It says, "The thing that have been, it is that which shall be, and that which is done is that which shall be done, and there is no new thing under the sun." That's right. So Esau repackaging, that's basically what he did. He repackaged all these different old deities and old idols and repackaged and put a white face or a so-called white face on it. And he called it his idea, when really he borrowed this from ancient religions and ancient kingdoms. Okay. See, this is why we say this is the worst place ever, because it's all rolled in one. This is ancient Rome, ancient Greece, ancient Egypt, and ancient Babylon, all rolled into one, man, to be a devastatingly wicked, the most wicked kingdom to ever rule the face of this earth. All right, so let's go and go back to the article. Again, I don't want to make this too long. A little bit under the weather, but we're gonna try to get some edification out of this. It says, women in positions of power. It wasn't only divine females that possessed great power in ancient Egypt. Mortal women also shaped the country's history, usually as the influential wife or mother of the pharaoh, but also sometimes to their own right. Sobek Neferu was the first female ruler of ancient Egypt. It's like it was not the first female ruler of ancient Egypt. At least one, Meritneith, is thought to have ruled as regent in place of her son as early as the first dynasty. However, she was the first woman known to assume the full title of pharaoh, which did after the death of Amenhotep, whatever it says, who was probably both her husband and her brother. Wow. She was the last ruler of the 12th dynasty, and it's thought to have held power for almost 4 years. So they just giving you these different women that are in power, and then, of course, about Cleopatra, but there was many different Cleopatras. Okay, there weren't now the one you know of, or that comes to your mind is the one that ruled during the time of Julius Caesar. Okay, which, by the way, she was an Edomite. Okay, And so these different women, see, this what we're saying is this lesson was created to, basically show you that just like in America, back in ancient Egypt, women had, there were women rights. There were all types of things going on back in ancient Egypt. Okay, that's going on in today's society. See, if you listen to one of these brain dead ass women, in today's world, they'll tell you that women were oppressed, for centuries, for thousands of years, and never could, and they'll tell you that this is a patriotic society, when really, man, the men here are weak and effeminate, and the women are bold and strong and independent and just disrespectful. But that's what the Lord set up. He wanted this to happen the way it is, okay? Because otherwise, he wouldn't allow the devil to get into power. Matter of fact, the devil, he's just recreating the wheel. Again, Salakia from this is Isaiah 24 and 4. It says, the earth mourneth and fadeth away, the world languisheth and fadeth away. The haughty people of the earth do languish. And these people are super haughty. Okay, let's look up the word haughty. These people are super haughty, man. All right. It says, for haughty definition, it says arrogantly superior and disdainful. Arrogantly disdainful. Arrogantly superior and disdainful. A look of haughty disdain. Is that not what especially you so-called Black, Latino, and Native American women, man? Of this world, bro. What? You're a man in this society. You see a nice looking woman. Your first instinct is to say hey or hi or how are you doing or you look nice today. And these women will look at you with a look that if looks could kill, okay, if looks could kill, you will be at the bottom of the sea with a chain around your neck like Jason, okay? If looks could kill, these people, mainly these women, not just mainly, but this society itself pushes a vibe of complete haughtiness, pride, disrespect, no honor, no integrity. That's what this society pushes. But when you go into the history and look at these different kingdoms that came before Babylon the Great, then you understand why the Lord said that this is the worst. This is Mystery Babylon, the worst of all kingdoms. Okay. All right, so let's jump on down. It says rights for everyday women. Now, you listen to an American Babylonian woman, she'll tell you that this is the first kingdom to ever give women's rights, but it's still not perfect because men, it's just victim mentality everywhere, man, especially the Edomite woman, the Karen of today's society. But guess what? Egypt had Karens too. They were known by something else because, Jake is real clever with those, with those society memes. Okay, societal memes, I meant. It says, of course, life for non-royal women would have been very different. Nevertheless, many historians believe that men and women were given almost equal standing in ancient Egypt. Legally, women had many more rights than their counterparts in some modern societies. Does that not sound like the child support court or family court? Because in America, women have way more power than men. Okay? You could be a ratchet hood bitch, all right, by the name of Black China. You can lay down with two multi-millionaire men, and the courts are still ruling in your favor, although they have more than sufficient facts, all right, to say that you're a terrible mother. I'm not saying she is. I'm just saying I'm using her as an example. But they can say, they know that you're doing all types of just wickedness, all right, exposing your children to all these different things. And guess what? Of course, I still hand you the children, still put him on child support. And it goes back to Egypt. It says the line of inheritance was matrilineal, which meant that property and wealth was handed down from mother to daughter rather than from father to son. Is that not how today's society is ran? Those small hats, okay? They trace your lineage through your mother's line, which that's off. Because when you go to, matter of fact, let's get it. Let's go to Numbers, yeah. Numbers 1 and 18. This is Numbers 1 and 18. This is how the Lord wanted it set up. But guess what? This devil's in charge. And really, those were devils back then, too. Those Hamites. They were devils. Okay? Anyway, Numbers 1 and 18, it says, and they assembled all the congregation together on the first day of the second month, and they declared their pedigrees after their fathers by the house. It's like they declared their pedigrees after their families by the house of their fathers. That's right. By the house of their father. That's how the Lord wanted it set up. All right. Your lineage would be traced back through your father's seed line. Okay. Or your father's lineage. But as you know, in today's world and back then in ancient Egypt, they would trace things a little differently. Okay. Therefore, the Lord allowed this to happen because our people needed to be confounded. All right. But back then in Egypt, he saved all of Israel. This time, he ain't going to save all of Israel. It's like it. He saved all of Israel, not Egypt. He saved all of Israel. OK. But back then in ancient Egypt. But today, he ain't going to do that. He's only coming back for the 1/3. All right. The 144,000 and the great multitude. All right. This is Isaiah 24 and 5. It says, the earth also is defiled under the inhabitants thereof, because they have transgressed the laws, changed the ordinance, broken the everlasting covenant. That's a covenant. When the Lord sends you, sets up your lineage, it can be traced back through your father. That's how we can trace Yahushua and his whole lineage. Okay. All the way back to Judah, back to Isaac, you know, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. You know, anyway, excuse me. Isaiah 24 and 5, it says, the earth also is defiled under the inhabitants thereof, because they have transgressed the laws, changed the ordinances, broken the everlasting covenant. That's right. So there's a curse being placed on this earth because the ordinances have been changed. What ordinance are we talking about? Women being placed over men. Let's get that scripture real quick. But it's nothing new under the sun. That's why I brought Ecclesiastes 1 and 9 out, because there's nothing new under the sun. See, the same thing those kingdoms were doing back then, America's doing right now. Okay. And because they're doing the same thing as those last kingdoms or those ancient kingdoms, they're going to get the same judgment, and actually worse. They're going to get the worst judgment of any kingdom that ever faced this earth, that ever be rulership in this earth. OK, because they're the worst thing going. All right. America is the worst thing going, man. All right. Forgot what I was about to get. Slack you. I'm going to go back to 24. It says, the earth also is defiled under the inhabitants thereof, that because they have transgressed the laws, changed the ordinances, broken the everlasting covenant. That's what I wanted to get. That's why I made sure I read that again. 1 Corinthians. I believe it was 11 and 14. Yeah, so oh, yep, there it is. This is 1 Corinthians 11 and 2. 1 Corinthians 11:1. It says, "Be ye followers of me, even as I also am of Hamashiach." All right, so we are followers of Hamashiach, but he's about to give you the ordinance of how it's supposed to be ran in the earth. Now, when you look around and you see what the Bible has to say about the situation, when you look around by the process of elimination, what do you add? What do you see? Is this how the earth is being ran? And if you're being honest with yourself, you would have to say no. Okay. This is 1 Corinthians 11:2. It says, "Now I praise you, brethren, that ye remember me in all things and keep the ordinances as I deliver them to you. But I would have you know that the head of every man is Hamashiach." That's Yahweh Hamashiach. It says, "And the head of the woman is the man." Okay, the head of the woman is the man. So your man is supposed to be in rulership, in leadership over you. Okay, that's how the Lord wanted it. I know a lot of you liberals, heads are exploding, but this is what the Bible says. You don't have to respect it. You don't have to like it. All right, but in the future, when Yahushua cracks those clouds, you will respect it. All right. Anyway, it says, but I would have you know that the head of every man is Hamashiach, and the head of the woman is the man, and the head of Hamashiach is the Most High. That's right. So that's the order. That's how the Lord wanted it. Okay. He even gave you order in how to trace your lineage back through your father. Okay. Through your father's lineage. There's many different ordinances that the Lord has given you. But guess what? The devil, all right, in many different forms. See, the Edomites are the worst type of devil. He's the devil. He's the devil. Okay. But those Egyptians back then, the Pharaoh, they were devils too. And they changed the ordinances. And guess what? The Lord wiped their ass out. All right. Same thing's going to happen to this devil. All right. So let's go back to, again, I don't want to make this too long. It says, Salaki. It says the line of inheritance was matrilineal, meaning from the mother to the daughter. It says, which meant that property and wealth was handed down from mother to daughter rather than from father to son. This was presumably because maternity, unlike paternity, could never be questioned. What does that say about a society? Is not Maury a very popular show in America? Well, the same shit was going down in Egypt. Same shit, guys. Okay? They were having baby mama and baby daddy disputes back in Egypt, man. Same thing that's going on here in America. That's how you know that we're the Israelites. It says, this meant that women could not only inherit assets, but they could have their own will and bequeath it as they chose. During their own lifetime, they could both administer and dispose of property as they wished. It says women could own and run an estate or business even after getting married. Wow. In fact, while most tended to fulfill traditional household roles, there was no law to prevent them from pursuing all kinds of professions. Possible occupations included scribe, priestess, usually in a temple dedicated to a female deity. Of course. Of course. Why wouldn't it? Same thing going on right now. When you go to these churches, all right, those are nothing like the elder Yahshua would say all the time. Well kept monuments of wickedness, man. All right, total destruction going on in there. Anyway, it says lower class women typically worked alongside their husbands in the field. Same thing going on right now. It says there were a few jobs that women would not have held. These include administrator or civil servant. It says in terms of the law, a woman could serve as an executor for wills It says witness legal documents, sit on a jury, adopt children, same thing going on right now, and bring cases to court. Woo. She could even defend herself in court, which may have been necessary because women could be sued and just tried, and tried just like men, although punishments often differed. Tell me, if you close your eyes and didn't know that this was an article about ancient Egypt, you would have thought this was America. Anyway, relationships, marriage, and divorce. It says girls typically married young in ancient Egypt, usually between the ages of 12 and 14. Hey, man, all you, you know who you are, talking about GMS, saying, teach to, have sex with little girls. Look, man, you might want to close your ears, man, close your eyes, man, because this went on in ancient Egypt, man, okay? Now, we're not advocating for that, obviously, all right? But guess what? It happened, guys. It happened. Get over yourselves. Anyway, it says husbands were often chosen by their families. However, women could not be forced to marry someone and had the right to refuse a proposal. Same thing going on right now. It says while polygamy was common for polygamy was common for pharaohs and not unusual for wealthy members of the elite, getting married was expensive, and the vast majority of marriages would have been monogamous. Same thing going on here in America. It says women were expected to fulfill traditional marital and maternal duties in addition to any occupation that they chose to have. This meant preparing meals, brewing beer, water was rarely drinkable in ancient Egypt. I wonder why. Is it drinkable here in America? Survey says, hell no. Hey man, Flint still got lead in the water. Anyway, moving on. It says caring for children, keeping the house clean, and laundering clothes in the river. Of course, wealthy women would have supervised these roles rather than performing them themselves. Same thing. It says that's not to say that divorce didn't happen. In fact, it was relatively common and could be initiated by either partner. Before marrying, couples would enter into a prenuptial agreement. Does not sound familiar. It says, and this typically favored the wife. See, when you go into history and you understand these things, you understand why that society fell, and once you understand the history, you start to understand why this society is going to fall too. All right, but this fall is going to be even worse. All right. It says, and this typically favored the wife. If the husband asked for a divorce, he could not claim any property from the marriage. It says, and would have to pay maintenance for his wife at matrimony. Anyway, it says, vagina, what they call it, vaginamony, alimony. Anyway, it says, and would have to pay maintenance for his wife and children. In either case, the wife was always given full custody, her original dowry, and any assets earned or inherited in her own name during the marriage. Unless previously owned by the husband's family, she would also have been granted the marital home. Adultery was illegal for both parties. It says the most common punishment for unfaithful wives was to have their nose slit. I didn't know that. A form of disfigurement chosen both because it was humiliating and because it was impossible to hide. But they'll try though. It says the main purpose of marriage in ancient Egypt was to produce an heir. In fact, infertility was one of the most common reasons for a man to divorce his wife. It says the Egyptians were so preoccupied with fertility that they are credited with one of the earliest pregnancy tests. It says a woman who suspected she was with child would urinate in the cloth bag that held both wheat and barley grains. If it says if either plant germinated, the woman was pregnant. If the wheat grew first, the child would be a female, and if the barley grew first, it would be male. As an indicator of pregnancy, this test was actually fairly accurate. Modern studies have shown it to be successful in identifying 70 to 85% of pregnancies. Childbirth was a dangerous prospect for ancient Egyptian women, with no real medical assistance available in the event of a problem. Instead, the woman would have been attended by female members of her family who would have used amulets and religious statues to invoke the protection of various goddesses, like Molech. Anyway, it says, there was a standard birthing position too. Women would have been helped to squat over a mat kept in place by 4 bricks, each of which was meant to represent a different goddess. See, child didn't have a damn chance in hell, you know. But this is a little article, you know. Look at this. Personal hygiene, cleanliness was a sacred importance to all ancient Egyptians, regardless of class or gender. As such, women would have bathed almost daily, either in the River Nile, or, if they could afford it, in the privacy of their own homes, to tubs filled by their slaves. So yeah, everything. I mean, look at this. Again, another fashion in Egypt. It says, so once they were freshly bathed, what would ancient Egyptian women have worn? While few garments have survived intact from the time of pharaohs, the many reliefs and paintings have on the walls of ancient monuments and tombs tell us that although precise styles varied depending on in class and era, the basics remained the same. Flax was woven into a light, cool fabric and provided efficient protection from the sun. And while it typically kept white, it could also be rendered in shades of red, blue, and yellow. So, for all you great, beautiful Americans, this is where red, white, and blue came from. Egypt. That's where it came from. Let's read that one more time. Flax was woven into a light, cool fabric that provided efficient protection from the sun. And while it was typically kept white, it could also be rendered in shades such as red, blue, and yellow with the help of natural dyes. It says, for servants and working class women, it says close-fitting ankle length sheath dresses were the most practical style. So if you want to get this article, it was from about a year ago. A little bit over. No, actually not even that long ago. A few months ago. But yeah. So if you want to get this article, this is where you can find it at pyramidsland.com. I wanted to bring this out, just kind of show you the many similarities that America has to ancient Egypt. And when I was on the highways and byways this past weekend, I went into ancient Rome. All right, and Lord willing, the Lord, continue to increase the spirit on me to continue bringing out these lessons, and I pray that it was edifying to you, brothers and sisters out there, and little children of Yahweh Ba'Shem Shai. I want to give all praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh Ba'Shem Shai, Ba'Shem Wahawakar Kadash, Shalom to the elect, and death and destruction to all these wicked kingdoms, and America. Shalom.